Okay, good morning again, Ms. Mashale.
Good morning.
You have your statement in front of you.
Yes, I do.
Okay. Perhaps it would be a good start if you start by introducing yourself and maybe just give us a brief background to your employment history, which I note is in SAPS as well.
Okay. I'm Patricia Mashale. I was employed on 1 August 2007 as an administration clerk in the South African Police Service.
Be closed. Okay.
Since 2008, I have been reporting wrongdoing in the South African Police Service. To an extent where I try to report everywhere, from the SAPS management to the MEC of Police, to the Premier, and to the office of the former minister, was the late Nadine Ntetwa. And my last resort was the office of the former President Zuma. And he was the one who immediately instructed the minister to appoint IPID to do an investigation into the corruption that I reported. That was in 2009.
May I just take you a little bit back before you start? And you started off by giving us an introduction in your employment in SAPS. And I see from your statement you've been employed at SAPS from 2007 up until 2022. And you had the position of an admin clerk.
Yes.
Now, it has come to light, we had a witness here, General Kumalo, who gave evidence in relation to your employment at SAPS. And one of the things that he said during his testimony was that your employment at SAPS in 2007 was irregular. And he said that you failed to disclose that you were previously dismissed at the Department of Health, and that you, so you'll see in the exhibit bundle that I've given to you, he's actually attached something from SAPS to that effect.
Okay.
What do you have to say about that?
Yes, I heard him saying that. So in 1998, I enrolled as a student nurse at the Free State College of Nursing. That was in January 1998. In May 1998, I was admitted with acute appendicitis in hospital. I was booked off for 6 weeks. And during that time, I submitted my medical certificate to the college. And in June of 1998, I decided that nursing is actually also not my passion. So I'm not going to waste my time and proceed with it was a bursary. So I submitted my termination forms, my termination application to the Free State College of Nursing. And everything was processed. Documents were submitted. So from 1998 up until 2007, I didn't do anything. I was a housewife. I raised my children. And so in 2007, there was post advertised at the South African Police Service. I applied. I went through all the stages of recruitment. Fingerprints were taken, background checks were taken, and I was appointed on 1st August 2008. Shortly after I started working, there was this rumor by Director MP Molloy, he retired as Major General Molloy, that I was dismissed from Department of Health. And I I was appointed in the South African Police Service because I had a romantic relationship with a late former Deputy Provincial Commissioner, Major General Eric Nkuna. I didn't even know who the Deputy Provincial Commissioner was. But what I remember, in December of 2007, the secretary of Major General Nkuna was on leave. And our support commander at Vespol, because I was working under the component Vespol, our support commander, Captain Stein, came to our office and she said that between us who are working in that office, they need someone to go and assist in General Nkuna's office because his secretary is on leave. No one was prepared to go, even myself, because I just started and now I must go to the 9th floor to be a secretary to the general that I don't know. No one was prepared to go. At the end of the day, the staff officer of the general decided that they are just going to randomly choose someone to go. That was Captain Baikis at the time. He also retired as Lieutenant Colonel Baikis. And Captain Stein came to me and said, Patricia, Captain Baikis called and they say you must go and work at the general's, assistant general's office. I didn't have a choice. It was an instruction. So I went to work in the general's office. I was assisting there for 2 weeks. Now, Director Peter Molloy's wife was working with me in the same office. Her name is also Patricia Molloy. And I don't know how the story started, but suddenly I now had a romantic relationship with General Nkuna, and he was the one who appointed me. General Nkuna didn't work in recruitment. He was not part of the recruitment. What they should have done, they should have go to my personal file and check how I was appointed, how I went through the recruitment processes. But at the end of the day, I was charged departmentally because the allegation was now that I failed to disclose that I was dismissed at the Department of Health. I won that case because there was a departmental trial. The generals from HR head offices was called as witnesses. Department of Health HR was called as witnesses, and they came and testified to say she did submit everything, her documents. Department of the Health are the ones who failed to capture her application, to capture her termination. And then what I did, then I went to my lawyer. I filed a defamation case against Molloy, and the court granted me damages. I filed for 100,000. The court granted me 50,000 in damages. And I did in my annexes submit all those documents relating to the departmental trial, relating to how that case was finalized.
Where in your statement do you reference that finding where you got a damages claim? Is it referred to in your statement?
On the presentation that I referred to, because on the presentation that I referred to, there's other matters that I'm going to discuss on that presentation. That's where I referred it to.
So if you look at that small exhibit bundle, page 1, where they give your personal information from the Department of Health.
That's one.
The first page. It's indicated there, and it's sort of marked in black. I don't know if you can see properly, but it said there that the reason why, it said you resigned in 1998 on the first page. And if you look at the second page, it said that the reason why you denied is because of dissertation.
Yes.
So these documents are they then false or
If you can
not valid?
If you can look at the date said 14/12/2007.
Okay.
And that bundle that I sent you, the annexes that I sent you, you will find there where they say that the reason why it was captured as desertion is because Department of Health failed to capture the documents that I submitted to terminate the enrollment. And just on this again, Lieutenant General Khumalo is the head of crime intelligence. It was easy for him to go and check on my personal file because the documents that I submitted to on the email, my personal file, you would have seen that in the departmental trial that was where I was charged in 2008. I was acquitted in that trial. You would have seen the documents that I submitted where I filed for defamation. You would have seen the court order. You would have seen the letter that was sent by General Masimula, was the head of support that time, to say that this matter is regarded as finalized because it was not the fault of it was not my fault, but it was the fault of the Department of Health. So before I came here, my lawyers told me that even when you ask me about this, because currently they are also busy with the defamation suit against General Khumalo relating to this matter.
Or maybe once the annexures are printed, you can then take the committee to the relevant documents that you're referring to. And then I'd slowly like to take us through your statement, because I could hear that you were leaving quite a lot of information out as you were trying to tell your story. Your statement is not very long, so I believe we can very quickly, we have an hour, we can quickly go through it.
Okay.
From your statement, and I'm looking at your background in your history of whistleblowing that you started off by telling us, it appears that your husband was also quite active, and it seems that the two of you were quite hardworking at making sure that corruption is uncovered if one reads your statement. So in your whistleblowing from 2009 to, it appears from your date of dismissal that you were actively involved in whistleblowing with your husband.
Didn't stop with my date of dismissal. It's still ongoing. So yes, it's true. My husband also, in 2008, while executing his duties, he also came across massive corruption committed. It was a syndicate of police officers, drug lords, motor vehicle syndicates, traffic cops, all those kind of things. And most of them, these police officers was working within the crime intelligence environment. And he was part of a task team who was working with these serious crimes. And as a result of him exposing, him and his two colleagues was arrested. And it was alleged that they are the ones who are part of these syndicates. So what General Mkonazi said about cartels and syndicates didn't start recently, something that came a long time ago. And when you speak out about these things, the first thing that they do, they arrest you. Whether there's something against you, whether they arrest you, they will add the charges later as they go. So they were arrested. Despite, if you can also look in that annexure that I sent you, there's the report from ICD, where they say despite the fact that there was absolutely no evidence against them, they were detained for 10 days without being charged. Their lawyer had to approach the High Court to force subs to charge them. So mind you, the allegations against them was that it's serious crimes. After 10 days, they were charged, 3 of them, of taking a bribe of 120 rand over a period of 3 years. This 120 rand was not fined on any one of them, but that was the charge. So now you ask yourself, if 3 people takes a bribe of 120 rand over a period of 3 years, how did they manage? And in April of 2008, all charges against them were dropped. They also sued the state for malicious arrest. And yeah.
Yeah, I see you refer to that in paragraph 6 of your statement. The facts you've just described about what you say is the unlawful arrest of your husband. And one interesting fact that you mentioned there is that your husband was then asked to fabricate allegations against a senior official, General Nkuna, in order for the charges against your husband to be dropped. Now, this General Nkuna that's mentioned here, is it the same general that was said to have cleared your Department of Health record?
Yes. The same General Nkuna, remember General Nkuna was the Deputy Provincial Commissioner of Police. It was at this time where there were only 2 deputies. It was a Provincial Commissioner, Deputy Support, Deputy Policing. So General Nkuna was the Deputy Policing. So everyone under policing, crime intelligence were reported to him. So now came this person to my husband while he's in detention, because him and his colleagues was not detained at the same police station. He was detained about 60 kilometers out of Bloemfontein. The other one is 30 kilometers. So when this person came to him, Colonel Nhlanhla, they fetched him from Welkom. Mind you, these crimes were committed in Bloemfontein. They fetched him from Welkom. He must come investigate these cases. You went to my husband and he said, the only way we are going to drop these charges against you, you must implicate General Nkuna and say he is part of these syndicates. And Colonel Nhlanhla came later to my husband and he said, I was fetched and I was told that by General Tsumani, who was still a brigadier at the time. General Tsumani was the head of detectives. He told my husband, General Tsumani told me that I must make sure that you implicate General Nkuna.
So did your husband fabricate? Did he implicate?
He didn't. He refused.
So in paragraph 3 is where you, of your statement, is where you deal with the chronology of events in retaliation, and this is where you mention the report that you've made to IPID, where you've reported or you made certain protected disclosures. Do you just briefly want to talk us through the events that happened there in 2021?
Okay. It did not actually start in 2021. I started to make the protected disclosures in 2018 to General Sithole, whereby I came across on the system, because I was the one who was monitoring the firearm applications in the province. I was the one who could check what is the status of firearms or firearm applications. So now in 2018, we got a new commander in the firearm section, because I was working firearm liquor and second-hand goods, Colonel Lewis. So Colonel Lewis started working, and then he came to me one day and he said, you know what? Something strange is happening at the firearm storage facility. There's no records, there's no record keeping. The firearms are not packed as per the prescriptions. There's no registers. Every Tuesday, the police stations are bringing firearms, but there's no records of these firearms. And he gave me a list. He said, can you please take this list and check for me, where is all these firearms? I took the list, I went with a list through the system, and lo and behold, I found that a warrant officer who is working at the facility storage was busy selling the firearms that was meant for destruction. He was selling the firearms back to the black market. There was names of police officers who were part of this, from police station level up to head office. There were names of dealers who bought the firearms. I printed all that information and I gave it to Colonel Lewis. I said, this is the information. Firearms were licensed at the Central Firearm Registry. Firearms that were meant for destruction were licensed at the Central Firearm Registry. And I could see on the system, when you go and look on the serial number of the firearm, you can see the firearm belongs to the state. But then on the other system, you see this firearm is licensed. So Colonel Lewis was shocked. And then Colonel Lewis went to report it to Major General Lysia, who is the current Deputy Provincial Commissioner of Policing.